to my guide for the adventure called Adventure. This is a non-replayable adventure. You get 6 energy per day, and as you can see, it lasts for 6 days total. It just started, and it doesn't have persistent health, so you cannot use healing potions or essences. This is not a particularly difficult adventure. It's pretty long, but you get more than enough energy during the 6 days. It's 36 free energy, so there is no reason to spend any gems on energy. And you can get lots and lots of shards of any type. So it's especially good if you're a new player, you just started and you don't have many shards, especially for weapon shards. These are the hardest ones to obtain when you start in story mode. And it has a few branching paths left and right, but not that many. And it does have a few merchants that sell shards in exchange for gold. The first one, as you can see, accessory shards, armor, and spell. We have a second merchant here, which sells minion, armor, and weapon shards. As I said, the weapon shards are probably the most important ones if you're a new player. But the minion shards are always good for any player because you're going to have lots and lots of minions to upgrade, and a few side paths with dungeons. And we have a third merchant here that sells random shards in exchange for gems, which I do not recommend. The path continues through here until the end. We have another branching path here for more random shards, and then the end. So let's start the adventure. We have the standard 5 difficulties. As usual with non-replayable adventures, when you choose a difficulty, you will get all the lower difficulty rewards. However, don't try to bite more than you can chew. Just choose a difficulty that suits your power. And remember that at any point in time in any adventure, if you click here on the question mark at the top right, you can lower the difficulty in case you're dying too much. So let's start. The first enemy is a heal giant. Gains 10 mana when taking poison damage, so be careful if you're using a poison build or green build in general, so you don't fill out his spells. In the next node we get some shards for free. Not a lot, but they're free, so yay. Now at this point you can go to the left side and continue through here and get to the merchant, or you can go to the right side through this dungeon and have access to these extra shards at the bottom right and these ones at the top right. If you're a new player, you need a lot of shards when you start, as I said, so I recommend you come through this right path. If you have a lot of shards, like I do, you probably want to go through the left side so you can get these extra epic scrolls. I think it's 2 random scrolls. I'm not 100% sure. However, I'm going to show the right path instead so you can see the shards that you can get here. Now, when I say a new player, maybe you've been playing for some time, but you're trying to upgrade all 7 classes. And for that, in order to get their spellbook and their scrolls to level 35, you are still going to need a lot of shards. So this is the path I'm going to follow, the right one through here. First do some fight here in this node. We have an ogre mage. Gain 5% life each turn for every debuff on him. So if you're playing a very heavy debuff build, like most green builds or the purple burn warlock, be careful, make sure that you can deal enough damage to compensate for that health regeneration. Okay, now we have the choice between the left and right paths, and as I said, I'm going to go through the right path for this dungeon. We have a wasp. Remove up to 3 skull gems when taking fire damage. Not particularly difficult, but if you're using a red physical build, like red physical berserker or something like that, well, be careful that it's going to be removing skulls whenever you try to hit it. The second enemy is another hill giant that takes mana, green mana, whenever you use poison elemental damage. And the third enemy is the fire giant. It's a boss, but the stats, the skill is the same as the fire giant. Takes 10 mana when taking fire damage. None of them are particularly difficult, so let's continue. Okay, and here we can see this branching path. To the left we go to the merchant, but instead we want to go to the right to collect all these free rewards. Again, not a lot, but they help. It doesn't matter if you go up or down here because both paths are two-way, so you can go do this one first or do this one first. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna do the one on the south first. We have an Etin that gains 10 mana when taking dark damage. Again, like all these giant type enemies, be careful you don't feed them, because if they get their spell, you're gonna be in trouble. But otherwise, easy. And we get the free, I'm gonna go back to the map so I can show you the free reward down here. Again, a few more shards. And to the top we have a cultist. I think they're called light cultists or something like that. Let me double check. Plague priest. Okay, close enough. Oh yes, it's green one, is not the light one. Heal 4% life at the start of the turn if the enemy is poisoned. Again, unless you cannot deal enough damage, not particularly difficult. And he's down. And we also get the extra shards from this up right node, this one. Collect them. Okay, so we got all the rewards on these side nodes. So let's talk to the merchant. And I have all the conversations skipped, so I just get to the shop. It only costs gold, so it's always worth buying. Gold is so easy to obtain, and if you don't have enough gold, it's okay, just go open some chests and you will get plenty of gold. We continue, but we have no more energy, so we did right from the start here all this right area, and tomorrow we will continue through here. Alright, so that's it for now. See you tomorrow. It's day number 2 for the adventure calling, so let's continue. The first enemy for today is this steam giant, steam machine, something like that, steam golem. If resistance is greater than 0, regenerate 10% of starting resistance each turn. So just like many of these enemies, make sure that you can put out enough damage to compensate for that kind of regeneration. Then we arrive to the next fork in the road, I believe, or maybe there is another fight. No. So we can go right through this harpy fight and then to the merchant, left, or right to the griffin and then a second fight and get these extra resources, which contains a little bit of ore, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, go through the right path. We fight the griffin. 10% chance to gain a barrier when taking physical damage. Not a problem with this elemental build, but even if you're using a physical build, it's only 10%. So yeah, it's annoying, but not particularly difficult. And if you can deal enough physical damage, you can power through the barrier anyway. And the second one is a Medusa. Which creates 1 purple gem every turn. Alright. Again, not difficult. And we get the extra rewards, which are some more shards and some ore. 100 spell shards, 100 minion shards, and 200 ore, which is not a small amount, so excellent. We get to the second merchant, and again, everything he offers is in exchange for gold, so let's buy everything. And the weapon shards. All right, and let's continue. We have an arbaleth. Remember that it regenerates life every time you cast a spell. So as usual, make sure that you can put out enough damage to compensate for it. It's one of those very annoying enemies until you can hit it hard enough. And we get another option to go left or right, or maybe down and up. So if we continue this down path, we continue to the next enemy. If we go up, we will get to access these rewards. So let's go up to the dungeon. And the first enemy is going to be this, I can't remember the name, Fallen Champion. Increases melee damage by 50% for each gold gem on the board. So if you're using a physical build with, for example, an Esgar Flail, something like that, make sure you can neutralize this enemy before it hits you really, really hard due to that buff. Level 92, okay, this should kill. The second one is a zombie that has a 20% chance to survive with 1 life, so I'm gonna use Frostbolt. Okay, in case it triggered, I could kill with Cold Snap and then keep my stunning for the last boss. And the last boss create 1 purple gem and 1 green gem every turn. Not a difficult dungeon. So let's get the rewards. Again, let's go back to the map. these other rewards that we can get here. So some gold, one rare relic, and one epic relic. Alright, and we are out of energy again. So tomorrow we will continue with the third part. I think it will be 4 days total. Yeah, more or less, because 6 energy is a lot. But either way, let's continue tomorrow. It's day number 3 for adventure calling, so let's continue where we left. And we left right here. After getting these rewards, we continue through the main path. And we fight this dwarven mech thing. What's the name again? Mech Rider. Gain 5% block chance for each purple gem on the board. So if you're playing a purple build, be careful. However, also remember that if you're stunning your opponent, for example, if you're playing the physical purple warlock build, if the opponent is stunned, it cannot block. So if you're using a warlock with tentacle slap, you will be fine even with a physical build. And we continue, we get these more shard rewards. It's just a few of them, but they add up because we're getting tons of them. Now, we have the option to go through this bottom path or the top one. The top one has 2 fights, the bottom one only has 1, and also the top one has access to this merchant. However, this merchant, as I said at the start of the video with the overview, sells random shards for gems. In my opinion, not worth it. But it's one additional fight, and we are getting way more than enough energy. So yeah, I want the extra experience. So I'm going to go through here. We have an Frost Giant that increases the mana when taking ice damage. So if you're using an ice build like mine, make sure you can kill it before you charge their spells. And the next foe is going to be a Frost Wolf. I don't remember the special skill. Deal 25% bonus damage if there are 5 or more skull gems on the board. Okay, so let's destroy these 3. I'm not making 4 because if I do, this skull will remain on the board. It will generate 1 big skull, so I'm not really eliminating 4, I'm only eliminating 3. And yeah, there are 5 of them, so he's going to get the extra damage and a critical hit, but he's not strong enough for me. And we get to the shop that, as I said before, I'm going to skip. And we get to the next fight, which is the Doom Knight. Remember that you're only dealing 50% damage as long as it has armor. So again, if you're using an elemental build like mine, make sure you can hit it hard enough. So I'm going to use Cockatrice Juju first. It didn't freeze. But yeah, this is more than enough. Even with the 50% damage reduction, I'm getting the 25% additional from Juju and the 30% additional from Frozen, from the gloves, so I'm good. Okay, 2 rare scrolls, nice. Armor shards, even nicer. Next enemy is a salamander. And its special skill, create a red and green gem at the start of every turn. Not difficult. And goodbye. And I don't know if I have enough energy for the next fight. I think I do. No, I don't. It's a dungeon. All right. I'm missing one energy. Yeah, I'm missing one. All right. So the next one is going to be a dungeon, then another single fight, another dungeon to get to these extra shard rewards, and then we go to the final fight and get to the end, but that will be tomorrow. It's day number 4 for Adventure Calling, so let's finish it. And we continue at this dungeon, which is where we left yesterday. The first enemy is a fire giant that increases mana when taking fire damage. Easy. Just make sure if you use a fire build that you don't feed her spells. The second enemy is a fire spider. 50% resistance to poison damage. Okay. Just be careful if you're using a poison build. And the last enemy is a Hellion that gains 25 mana when taking fire damage. So again, be careful with the first and the last enemy if you have a fire build, but otherwise should be easy. It's a level 95. Let's open it. Let's see if it has something good. No, not really. Oh well. It was worth a try. And let's continue to the next enemy, which is an iron golem that regenerates 10% of starting armor and resistance every turn. Just make sure that you hit hard enough to compensate for that. And another enemy down. Okay, and we get to the last fork in the road. So let's go through this optional dungeon to get these shard rewards. The first enemy is a dwarf. If armor is greater than 0, regenerate 10% of starting armor each turn. Okay. The second enemy is another iron giant or iron golem, similar to the one we faced before, so the same applies. Just make sure that you deal enough damage to offset that regeneration. And the last one is an owl bear that reduces damage depending on the yellow or green gems on the board. So if there are lots of yellow or green gems, if you're using one of those colors, be careful. It can be a really tough opponent, but otherwise easy. And we get, let's go back to the map, we get these shards right here. All right. And the last battle. And we have a fire demon, I think it's called, just demon. Inflict burn on the opponent for 6 turns when it dies. It can be annoying if you're in a dungeon and it's the first enemy in a dungeon, but otherwise, if it's just going to be the last enemy or just a single skirmish fight, not a problem to be burnt after he's dead. All right, Another diamond chest. Yeah, why not? Let's open it. Let's see if it's a little bit better than the previous one. And no. Okay. I mean, I got some ore and some spell pages, so could be worse. And we are at the end of the adventure. Please note that today we spent all the energy. From yesterday we had 1 energy left, which means that we spent a total of 23 energy for the whole adventure. You get 6 every day, and there are still 2 more days left, so you have plenty of energy to do this adventure. Let's get the final rewards: 500 food and 500 ore and 1000 gold, which is good, and the last conversation with Eveline just to close it. And the gems depending on the difficulty level that we chose at the start. And that's the end of Adventure Calling. So if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.